I'm standing in the maternity ward corridor of St. Luke's Hospital at 3 in the morning, my carry-on suitcase still in my hand, when my son Lucian walks out of room 247 and closes the door behind him with excessive care. The kind of care that tells me something is very wrong. I've been traveling for 15 hours, 2 flights from Boston with a missed connection in Chicago that cost me 3 hours sitting in a hard plastic chair eating overpriced airport food. My back aches. My feet are swollen in my Ferragamo flats, and I probably look exactly like what I am. A 57-year-old woman who dropped everything to be here for her grandson's birth. Because that's what grandmothers do. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. Lucian's face doesn't carry the exhausted joy I expected to see on a new father. He looks devastated. For one absurd moment, I think something went wrong with the baby. My heart stops. I drop the suitcase. Mom. His voice is flat, dead. Is the baby okay? Is Ivy okay? The words tumble out before I can stop them. They're fine. The baby's fine. It's a boy. He's healthy. Relief floods through me so intensely I have to steady myself against the wall. A boy. I have a grandson. Oh, thank God. Lucian, that's wonderful. Can I see them? Can I meet him? That's when his face does something I've never seen before. It crumples, not with joy, but with something that looks like shame mixed with determination. The kind of expression someone wears when they're about to do something they know is wrong but are going to do it anyway. Mom, Ivy doesn't want you here. The words hit me like a physical slap. I actually take a step backward. What? She doesn't want you in the room. She doesn't want you to meet the baby right now. I'm sorry, but you need to leave. I stare at him. This is my son. The boy I raised alone for the last 6 years after his father died. The man whose Stanford tuition I paid in full because I didn't want him starting life with debt. The architect whose first apartment I helped buy. Whose wedding I funded. Whose entire adult life I've supported in every way a mother possibly could. I don't understand. I flew 15 hours. You called me yesterday and said I needed to be here. You said the baby was coming and that I had to come. I know, I thought. He stops. Runs his hand through his hair. That gesture he's made since he was 5 years old when he's anxious. I thought it would be okay. But Ivy is really clear about this. She doesn't want you here. There are nurses passing by. Other families celebrating their babies. A young couple walks past us, holding a car seat with a tiny newborn inside, their faces radiating pure joy. And here I am, standing in my rumpled travel clothes, with my stupid suitcase full of baby gifts I picked out personally at Saks, being told I'm not welcome. For how long? When can I see him? Lucian won't meet my eyes. I don't know, Mom. She's really firm about this. She needs space. The birth was hard and she's overwhelmed, and she just needs it to be us right now. But I'm his grandmother. I know. I'm your mother. I know. His voice cracks on that. At least he has the decency to sound upset. Did something happen? Did I do something to upset her? Lucian, talk to me. Help me understand what's happening. He finally looks at me then, and what I see in his eyes is worse than anger. It's resignation. Mom, don't make this harder than it already is. Please, just go back to your hotel. I'll call you in a few days when things calm down. A few days? Maybe a week. I don't know. I need to get back inside. She's asking for me. He starts to turn away, actually turns his back on me, and something in me breaks. Not the sad kind of breaking, the angry kind. Lucian James Vandermeer, you look at me right now. He stops, turns back, and I see him then, really see him, for maybe the first time in years. My son is 32 years old, but in this moment he looks like a frightened child, weak. That's the word that comes to mind, and I hate myself for thinking it. But there it is. How long has she felt this way? About me? He opens his mouth, closes it, then says the words that will replay in my mind for days. Mom, don't insist. She never wanted you here. Not really. Not ever. The corridor seems to tilt. Not ever. Not just about the birth. Not just about this moment. Ever. And you're only telling me this now? After I flew 15 hours? After 6 years of trying to build a relationship with her? After 3 years of marriage? I thought I could handle it. I thought it would get better. I thought... He stops again. It doesn't matter what I thought. This is how it is. I'm sorry. You're sorry. I hear my own voice, And it sounds strange, distant, calm in a way that scares even me. You let me travel across the country. You let me rearrange my entire schedule. You let me think I was going to meet my grandson. And now you're telling me your wife, who apparently has hated me for 3 years, doesn't want me anywhere near her or the baby. She doesn't hate you. Don't. The word comes out sharp. Don't insult my intelligence on top of everything else. A nurse walks by, glances at us with that look healthcare workers get when they sense family drama. I lower my voice. What do you want me to do, Lucian? What is the correct response to this situation? Because I genuinely don't know. Do I beg? Do I wait in the parking lot like some kind of stalker hoping for a glimpse of my own grandchild? Do I go back to Boston and pretend this didn't happen? Just go back to your hotel for now. Please, Mom. I'll call you. I promise I'll call you. Like you've been calling me for the last 4 months? 3-day delays on text messages? Unanswered voicemails? His face flushes. I've been busy. The pregnancy was complicated. Work is intense. Busy enough that you didn't tell me about the baby shower until after it happened? I found out from Facebook photos, Lucian. Do you know how that felt? I didn't know they were going to post those. That was supposed to be small. Small enough not to include the grandmother. I understand. Message received. Loud and clear. I pick up my suitcase. My hand is completely steady even though everything inside me is shaking. I'm leaving. Not because your wife demands it, but because I still have enough dignity not to beg for scraps of affection from my own family. Mom, what's his name? Your son. My grandson. What's his name? Lucian hesitates, like he's not sure if he's allowed to tell me. That hesitation hurts more than anything else that's happened tonight. Henry. Henry Richard Vandermeer. After Dad. Oh, that's cruel. They named him after Richard. After my husband. After the man who would have absolutely lost his mind if he knew his son was treating me like this. They used his name but won't let me meet the baby who carries it. That's a beautiful name, I managed to say. My voice only shakes a little. Tell Ivy congratulations. Tell her I hope she enjoys her son. Tell her the gifts I brought are at the nurse's station. I'm sure she'll find them useful. I start walking toward the elevator. Each step feels mechanical. Left foot, right foot. Don't cry, don't cry, don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you break. Mom, wait. I don't wait. I keep walking. The elevator is right there. I press the button. It lights up. The doors open almost immediately, which feels like a small mercy from the universe. I step inside, turn around. Lucian is standing in the corridor, looking after me with an expression I can't quite read. Or maybe I can read it, and I just don't want to. The doors close. I make it to the rental car before I cry. Not sobbing, not the dramatic kind of crying you see in movies, just silent tears that I wipe away with the back of my hand while I sit in the driver's seat, trying to remember how to breathe. It's 4 a.m. I'm in Denver, Colorado. My hotel is 15 minutes away. I paid for 3 nights because I thought I'd be helping with the baby, meeting my grandson, being a grandmother. Instead, I'm sitting in a Hertz rental, in a hospital parking garage, still wearing the cashmere sweater and slacks I put on in Boston yesterday morning, trying to understand what just happened to my life. My phone buzzes. For one stupid, hopeful second, I think it's Lucian calling to say it was all a mistake, that Ivy changed her mind, that they want me to come back. It's Philippa, my best friend of 20 years, the one person who knows everything. Did you meet him? Is he gorgeous? Send pictures. I stare at the text. Then I type back, going back to hotel. We'll call tomorrow. She responds immediately. That's not an answer. What happened? But I can't tell her right now. Can't say the words out loud. If I say them, they become real. If I say them, I have to accept that my son chose his wife over me, that I'm not wanted, that I'm not needed, that everything I thought I was building for the last 6 years since Richard died has been an illusion. I drive to the hotel on autopilot, check in. The night clerk is cheerful and asks if I'm in town for business or pleasure. I tell her family. She beams and says that's wonderful. I agree that it's wonderful, because what else am I supposed to say? The room is generic, Marriott corporate, clean and functional and utterly impersonal. I set my suitcase on the luggage rack and look at it. Inside are the carefully chosen gifts, the organic cotton onesies in neutral colors, The hand-knitted blanket I commissioned from that artisan in Vermont. The silver baby rattle that was Richard's when he was born. The one thing of his childhood I kept safe all these years. I don't unpack. I sit on the edge of the bed still wearing my coat, and I let myself feel everything I've been holding back. The humiliation, the rejection, the bone-deep hurt of being unwanted by your own child. And underneath all of that, something else starts to grow. Something cold and clear and sharp-edged. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind that burns out quickly. The calculating kind. The kind that waits and watches and thinks. I pull out my phone. Look at my messages with Lucian over the last 4 months. The pattern is so obvious now that I'm looking for it. Me reaching out. Him responding days later with short, non-committal answers. Me asking about appointments and baby plans. Him deflecting. Me offering help. Him saying, "We're good," or "Ivy has it handled." And then I scroll further back, to 4 months ago, to Philippa's birthday dinner at her house. The casual comment Ivy made that Philippa told me about later. "At least we won't have to worry about the hospital bill. I assume Margot will want to cover that." She didn't ask me, didn't mention it to me directly, just announced it to other people at a dinner party. Announced that she expected me to pay $47,000 for a private hospital birth. Expected it the way you expect the sun to rise, as a given, as something I owed them. And Philippa, bless her, called me the next day. "Margot, she's treating you like an ATM, not a person. You need to set boundaries before this gets worse." I laughed at the time. Said Philippa was overreacting. Said every family had their dynamics, and I didn't mind helping Lucian financially. He was my son. That's what mothers do. But Philippa pushed. "If you pay without them asking, you validate the behavior. And if you don't pay," she left the rest unsaid. But the seed was planted. What if I didn't pay? What if, for once in my life, I let my son and his wife face the consequences of their choices without me swooping in to fix everything? What if I chose my dignity over their convenience? I look at the clock, 4:47 in the morning. In a few hours, St. Luke's Hospital will send Lucian and Ivy the itemized bill for their stay. $47,000, give or take. Their insurance will cover some of it, but not all. Not even close. They'll be looking at a bill somewhere in the $35,000 to $40,000 range. And they'll expect me to pay it. Because I always pay. I've been paying for Lucian's life since he was born, but especially since Richard died. I've been trying to make up for his loss of a father by being twice the parent, by being there financially, emotionally, in every way possible. And in return, I got expelled from my grandson's birth. I open my banking app. Look at my accounts. The consultant firm Richard and I built together is thriving under my sole management. I have multiple revenue streams, solid investments, and more than enough money to cover a hospital bill without blinking. But I don't transfer any money. I don't set up a payment. I don't do anything except close the app and set my phone on the nightstand. Then I change into my pajamas, wash my face, and get into bed. I don't sleep, but I lie there in the dark, making a decision that feels both terrifying and absolutely necessary. Tomorrow I'll fly back to Boston. I won't call Lucian. I won't text. I won't send flowers or gifts or congratulations cards. I won't reach out at all. And when he calls me in 3 or 4 days, panicking because the hospital bill arrived and I haven't paid it, I'll have a choice to make. For the first time in 6 years, maybe for the first time in my entire life as a mother, I'm going to choose myself. I'm on the plane back to Boston when I let myself think about how we got here, how a relationship between mother and son that I thought was unbreakable turned into whatever this is. The flight attendant brings me a glass of wine I didn't ask for, takes one look at my face and says quietly, "Rough trip?" I nod. She pats my shoulder and moves on. I'm grateful she doesn't push for details. 6 years ago, I lost Richard to pancreatic cancer. 4 months from diagnosis to funeral. 4 months of watching the strongest man I knew disappear piece by piece until there was nothing left but pain and medication, and finally, mercifully, silence. He died 3 weeks before his 55th birthday. We'd been married 28 years. I was 51. Lucian was 26, fresh out of graduate school, just starting his architecture career in San Francisco. He flew home for the funeral and stayed 2 weeks, and I remember being so grateful for his presence, even though I could see how much it scared him to watch me grieve. Richard had been his hero, his best friend, the parent he'd always been closer to, if I'm being honest. After Lucian went back to California, I was alone in our house in Beacon Hill for the first time in my adult life. Richard and I had bought it together when we were 30, full of plans and dreams and absolute certainty that we'd grow old there together. We renovated it room by room over the years. Every corner held memories. Every piece of furniture had a story. I couldn't sell it, couldn't even think about it. So instead, I threw myself into work. Richard and I had built Vandermeer Financial Consulting together, started it in our dining room with 2 laptops and a dream. By the time he died, we had 12 employees and a client list that included some of Boston's wealthiest families. Richard handled the big picture strategy. I handled the details, the client relationships, the day-to-day operations that actually kept the business running. When he died, everyone expected me to sell. Our competitors circled like sharks. Several clients called to express condolences and casually mentioned they'd be open to discussing new representation. Even our own employees seemed uncertain about whether I could manage alone. I proved every single one of them wrong. Within 6 months, I'd restructured the business, brought in 2 new senior consultants, and closed 3 major deals Richard had been working on. Within a year, our revenue was up 18%. I worked 12-hour days because going home to that empty house was unbearable. The business saved me, gave me purpose, reminded me I was more than just Richard's widow or Lucian's mother, but Lucian was still my son, my only child. After Richard died, he became my only direct family connection. My parents were both gone. Richard's parents lived in Florida, and our relationship was cordial but distant. I had friends, good friends like Philippa, but Lucian was blood. He was half of Richard still living and breathing in the world, so I did what I thought good mothers do. I supported him, financially, emotionally, in every way I could from 3,000 miles away. When he got accepted into Stanford's architecture graduate program, I paid the full tuition, $68,000 a year for 3 years. I didn't want him starting his career with student loan debt. Richard would have wanted the same thing. When Lucian graduated and got hired by a mid-sized firm in San Francisco, I helped with his first apartment, gave him $20,000 for the security deposit and first few months of rent in that insanely expensive city. When he needed a car, I bought him a reliable Honda. Nothing flashy, but dependable. Safe. He thanked me. He was always grateful. Always said I didn't have to do this. And I always said the same thing. That's what mothers are for. I thought I was building a relationship, maintaining closeness despite the distance, making sure he knew he wasn't alone in the world, even though we'd both lost Richard. What I was actually doing was teaching my son that I would always fix his problems. That money was my love language, that I would always be there to catch him, so he never had to worry about falling. 3 years ago, Lucian called with big news. He'd met someone. Her name was Ivy Prescott. She was a designer, creative, funny, from Seattle originally, but living in Denver. He'd met her at a conference. They'd been dating for 6 months and he was in love. I was thrilled, genuinely thrilled. The idea of Lucian finding someone, building a life, maybe giving me grandchildren someday, it felt like hope, like proof that life went on after loss. When he asked if I wanted to meet her, I flew to Denver the next weekend. Took them both to dinner at a nice restaurant, Morton's Steakhouse. I wanted to make a good impression. I wore my Armani suit, the navy one Richard always said made me look powerful but approachable. I brought a small gift for Ivy, a beautiful silk scarf I'd found at a boutique on Newberry Street. Ivy was pretty, 26 years old, long dark hair, artistic style, with layered vintage clothes and interesting jewelry. She seemed nervous, which I found endearing. I tried to put her at ease, asked about her work, her family, her interests, told stories about Lucian as a child that made him groan but made her laugh. The dinner seemed to go well. When we said goodbye, Ivy hugged me and said she hoped we'd see each other again soon. Lucian called the next day to thank me and said Ivy really liked me. I believed him. They got engaged 4 months later. Lucian asked if I could help with the wedding costs. Ivy's parents were divorced and both struggling financially. His salary was decent, but not enough to fund the kind of wedding Ivy wanted. Could I contribute? Of course I could. I wrote a check for $35,000, covered the venue, the catering, the photographer. I wanted them to have a beautiful start to their marriage without the stress of debt. I wanted to help. The wedding was lovely. Small, only 80 guests, at a winery outside Denver. I gave a short speech about how proud Richard would have been of the man Lucian had become. Several people cried. I held it together until I got back to my hotel room. But even at the wedding, there were small signs I didn't want to see. Ivy's mother cornered me during cocktail hour and said, "It must be nice to have the kind of money where you can just write a check like that." Not thank you. Not how generous. Just a comment that felt like an accusation. When I tried to take photos with Ivy and Lucian, Ivy always positioned herself between us. Always had her hand on Lucian's arm like she was marking territory. I told myself I was being paranoid. She was the bride. Of course she wanted to be close to her new husband. After the wedding, Lucian and Ivy moved into a bigger apartment in Denver. He'd gotten a promotion at his firm. She was building her freelance design business. They seemed happy. Lucian called me once a week, usually on Sunday mornings. We'd talk for 20 minutes, half an hour. He'd tell me about work, about projects he was excited about. I'd tell him about the business, about my life in Boston. But the calls started getting shorter. Once a week became once every 2 weeks, then once a month. When I called him, he often didn't answer. When he did, he always sounded distracted. "Sorry, Mom. Can I call you back? Ivy and I are in the middle of something." He rarely called back. I told myself it was normal. He was a married man now, building his own life. That's what children are supposed to do. Pull away, become independent. I'd done the same thing with my own parents, but it didn't feel normal. It felt like rejection. Last year, when Lucian called to tell me Ivy was pregnant, I cried. Happy tears, real joy. A grandchild. A piece of Richard and me continuing into the next generation. Lucian seemed excited but also stressed. Money was tight, he said. Ivy had quit her last steady job 6 months earlier to focus on freelance work, but the clients weren't coming as fast as she'd hoped. They were managing, but barely. I offered to help. Of course I offered. But Lucian said no, said they needed to do this on their own. Said Ivy felt strongly about being independent. I respected that. Or tried to. Then Philippa's birthday dinner happened, 4 months ago. I invited Lucian and Ivy since they were flying to Boston for a work thing anyway. They came. Ivy was 6 months pregnant, glowing, her hand constantly on her belly. I was so happy to see them. At dinner, surrounded by Philippa's friends and family, Ivy was animated, talked about nursery plans, baby names, all the things new parents obsess over. And then, casually, almost like an afterthought, she said, "At least we won't have to worry about the hospital bill. Private care in Denver is insane, but I assume Margot will want to cover that." Not asking. Assuming. In front of 10 people, like it was already decided. I smiled, said something neutral like, "We'll see." But inside, something shifted. Philippa caught my eye across the table. Her expression was troubled. She called me the next day. "Margot, you heard that, right? The way she said it? She's pregnant and stressed. People say things. No, she's treating you like a resource, not a person, like a bank account with feelings that can be managed." I defended Ivy, defended Lucian, said Philippa was reading too much into a casual comment. But Philippa wouldn't let it go. "If you pay that hospital bill without them explicitly asking you, without them even acknowledging it's a gift and not an obligation, you're teaching them that you'll always bail them out no matter how they treat you. Is that really what you want?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. The plane starts its descent into Logan. Boston spreads out beneath us, gray and familiar. My city, my home. The place where I built a life and a business and proved I could survive losing the man I loved. I'll survive this too. Losing my son's respect, his inclusion, my place in his family. I'll survive it because I have to. But I won't do it by being a doormat anymore. I don't call Lucian when I land in Boston. I don't text. I don't send a message asking if he and Ivy are okay, if the baby is healthy, if they need anything. For the first time in my son's entire life, I choose silence. It feels wrong. Every maternal instinct I have screams at me to reach out, to fix this, to smooth things over and pretend the hospital humiliation never happened. That's what I've always done. Richard used to joke that I could negotiate peace in the Middle East because I was so good at making everyone comfortable, at finding solutions that kept everyone happy. But Richard isn't here anymore, and I'm tired of being the one who always bends. Philippa comes over that first night back. She takes one look at me and pulls me into a hug that lasts a full minute. When we finally sit down in my kitchen with a bottle of Pinot Noir between us, she says, "Tell me everything." So I do. Every humiliating detail. The 15-hour journey, standing in that corridor, Lucian's face when he told me to leave, the words, "She never wanted you here," that keep replaying in my mind like a song I can't turn off. Philippa listens without interrupting. When I finish, she's quiet for a long moment. Then she says, "What are you going to do about the hospital bill?" "Nothing." "Nothing?" "Nothing. They haven't asked me to pay it. Ivy just assumed I would, but no one has actually requested my help, so I'm not offering." Philippa's smile is fierce. "Good. It's about damn time you let them face consequences." Is that what I'm doing? Or am I being petty and vindictive? You're being a woman who deserves respect from her own family. There's nothing petty about having boundaries, Margot. You've spent 6 years since Richard died trying to be everything to Lucian. Maybe it's time he learns what it means to stand on his own. I want to believe her, but guilt is a powerful thing, especially for mothers. We're conditioned from birth to put our children first, to sacrifice, to give, until there's nothing left. The idea of not helping when Lucian might need me feels like betraying some fundamental part of who I am. But then I remember standing in that hospital corridor, being dismissed, being unwanted, and the guilt transforms into something else, something harder and clearer. The first few days are quiet. I go to work, meet with clients, review portfolios, attend a board meeting for a charity I support. Life continues like nothing happened, except everything has happened. I check my phone obsessively, part of me still expecting Lucian to call and apologize, to say it was all a mistake, that Ivy was just hormonal, that they want me in their lives. He doesn't call. On day 4, I get a text. Not from Lucian, from a number I don't recognize. When I open it, there's a photo of a baby, my grandson. He's wrapped in a white hospital blanket, wearing a little blue cap, his face scrunched up and red and absolutely perfect. No message, just the photo. I stare at it for 10 minutes, this tiny person who carries my son's genes and my husband's name, and I feel something crack open inside my chest. Love and rage mix together until I can't tell them apart. I don't respond to the text, don't ask who sent it or say thank you for the photo. I just save it to my phone and then set my phone down and cry for the first time since I left Denver. Philippa was right. I'm not being petty. I'm being someone who knows her worth. But knowing your worth and feeling good about enforcing it are two very different things. Work becomes my refuge again, just like it did after Richard died. I throw myself into a complex estate planning case for a client whose family dynamics make mine look simple. 3 adult children fighting over a $12 million inheritance, each one convinced they deserve more than the others. I spend hours mediating, strategizing, finding solutions that protect my clients' wishes while minimizing family warfare. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm an expert at managing other people's family conflicts, while my own is falling apart. 10 days after Denver, my phone rings at 7 in the morning. It's a Saturday. I'm in my home office going over quarterly reports with my coffee. When I see Lucian's name on the screen, my heart does this stupid, hopeful thing before I can stop it. I let it ring 3 times before I answer. "Hello? Mom?" His voice sounds strained, tired. "How are you?" "I'm fine, Lucian. How are you? How's the baby?" "He's good. He's great. He's sleeping better now. 4-hour stretches at night." "That's wonderful." Silence. I don't fill it. Don't ask questions or make it easy for him. Just wait. "Mom, I wanted to apologize for how things went at the hospital. That was wrong. I should have handled it better." "You should have." I keep my voice neutral. Not warm, not cold, just factual. Ivy was really overwhelmed. The labor was 36 hours, and she had complications and she just needed... "Lucian, stop. I don't need to hear about Ivy's needs right now. You called me to Denver. You told me to come, and then you humiliated me in a public hospital corridor. That's what happened. Own it." More silence. Then, quieter. "You're right. I'm sorry. I really am." Thank you for apologizing. Is there anything else? Do you want to see photos? Of Henry? I can send you some. Or we could video chat and I could show him to you. Every cell in my body wants to say yes, wants to see my grandson, even if it's just through a screen. But something stops me. Some instinct that this is a test and I need to pass it. That's very kind of you to offer, but I think I'll wait until I can meet him in person, properly. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. He sounds disappointed. Good. Maybe in a few weeks, when things calm down? Maybe. We'll see. I pause. How's everything else? Work? The apartment? Are you managing okay? Yeah, everything's fine. Good. Busy, but good. He's lying. I can hear it in his voice, that slight uptick at the end like he's trying to convince himself as much as me. But I don't push, don't offer solutions. Just say, I'm glad to hear it. We end the call with vague promises to talk soon. After I hang up, I sit there staring at my phone and feeling like I just navigated a minefield. I did the right thing. I know I did. But it doesn't feel good. The hospital bill arrives around day 12. I know because Philippa has dinner with me that night, and I get a text from Lucian while we're eating. Mom, can you call me when you get a chance? Important. Philippa sees my face. That's the bill. Probably. Don't call him back tonight. Make him wait. That seems cruel. Cruelty would be flying to Denver and being turned away. This is just consequences. She refills my wine glass. You've spent 32 years protecting him from consequences. Let's see what happens when he has to face one. I don't call that night. Or the next day. On day 14, Lucian calls me 3 times in 2 hours. I'm in a client meeting and can't answer. When I finally call back that evening, he picks up on the first ring. Mom, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I was in meetings. What's wrong? The hospital bill came. It's $47,000. Our insurance covered some, but we still owe $38,000. He pauses. I thought you would have paid it by now. There it is. The assumption. The expectation, exactly what Philippa predicted. Why would you think that? Because you always... He stops himself. I just thought you'd want to help with your grandson's birth. Lucian, you expelled me from your grandson's birth. You didn't let me meet him. You didn't even want me there. Why would I pay for that experience? That's not fair, isn't it? You tell me. Explain to me how it's fair that I should write a check for $38,000 for a grandchild I've never met, whose birth I was rejected from, whose parents made very clear they don't want me involved in their lives. We do want you involved. That's not what happened. Then what did happen, Lucian? Please explain it to me. Because from where I'm standing, your wife doesn't want me in her life or her son's life, and you're too weak to stand up for me. But you still want my money. Is that accurate? Silence. Long and heavy. Mom, please. We can't afford this. We have $18,000 in credit card debt that Ivy doesn't even know about. I was going to use your help to pay that down. We're drowning here. And there it is. The full picture. He's been lying to his wife about their financial situation and planning to use my money to cover it up. I should be shocked. Instead, I just feel tired. Then you need to tell Ivy the truth about your finances. And you need to figure out together how to pay this bill, like adults, like parents. I can't believe you're doing this. Doing what? Having boundaries? Expecting respect? Lucian, I have given you everything. I paid for your education, your apartment, your wedding, your entire adult life. And you repaid me by letting your wife treat me like garbage and then joining in. So no, I'm not paying this bill. Not this time. So this is punishment? You're punishing me? No. I'm letting you be an adult. There's a difference. He's breathing hard on the other end. I can picture him pacing in his apartment, hand in his hair, that panicked look he gets when things don't go according to plan. What am I supposed to tell Ivy? Tell her the truth, that your mother isn't an ATM, that if you want help, you ask for it respectfully, and that actions have consequences. She's going to lose her mind. That's between you and your wife. Mom, please, I'm begging you. Just this once. You've said just this once to me at least a dozen times in the last 6 years, Lucian. It's never just once. It's a pattern, and I'm done being part of that pattern. I hear a door close on his end. Then his voice drops to almost a whisper. I made a mistake. I know I did. The hospital thing was wrong. But don't punish Henry for my mistakes. He's your grandson. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply not paying for something I wasn't invited to be part of. If you and Ivy want to build a relationship with me, if you want me to be Henry's grandmother in any real sense, then we need to have an honest conversation about respect and boundaries. But that conversation happens before money exchanges hands, not after. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Think about what you want from me, what you're willing to give in return. And when you have real answers, call me back. I end the call before he can respond. My hands are shaking. I feel like I just jumped off a cliff, and I'm not sure if there's water below or rocks. The next 48 hours are torture. Lucian doesn't call, doesn't text. Complete radio silence. I check my phone every 10 minutes like a teenager waiting for a crush to respond. Philippa texts daily encouragement. Stay strong. You did the right thing. He needs to learn. On day 16, I get an email from Ivy, the first direct communication she's ever initiated with me. The subject line is, "We need to talk." I stare at that email for a full hour before I open it. When I finally do, it's short. 3 sentences. Margot, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I'd like to talk to you about everything that happened. Can you come to Denver this weekend? I'll pay for your flight. She'll pay for my flight. With what money? Certainly not the money they need for the hospital bill. This is a power play. A way to make it look like she's being generous, while actually trying to manipulate me into feeling obligated. I forward the email to Philippa with no comment. She calls me immediately. It's a trap. I know. She's going to get you there and guilt you into paying. Probably. So you're not going. I think about that. About Ivy's email. About the chance, however slim, that this might actually be an attempt at reconciliation. About my grandson, 2 weeks old now, who I've never held. I'm going, I say, but on my terms. Margot. I need to look her in the eye. I need to hear what she has to say. And I need her to hear what I have to say. This doesn't get resolved over email or phone calls. It needs to happen face to face. Then I'm coming with you. No. Yes. You're not walking into that situation alone. I'm coming to Denver and I'm staying at your hotel. I won't go to their apartment with you, but I'll be there as backup. Non-negotiable. I want to argue. Want to say I can handle this myself. But the truth is, I'm terrified. Terrified of being manipulated. Terrified of giving in. Terrified of losing my son completely. Okay, I say quietly. Book your flight. We leave Friday. When I respond to Ivy's email, I keep it professional. I can come this weekend. I'll arrange my own travel. Please let me know what day and time work best for you. Her response comes within an hour. Saturday afternoon? 2 o'clock? I really appreciate you coming. I don't respond to that. Just add it to my calendar. Saturday, 2 o'clock. The conversation that might either repair my family or end it completely. Philippa and I land in Denver Friday evening. She insists we have dinner and wine and a strategy session. We sit in the hotel restaurant and she makes me rehearse what I want to say. You need to be clear, specific. Don't let her derail you with tears or manipulation. What if she's genuinely sorry? What if she really wants to make this right? Then you'll know. But Margot, people who are genuinely sorry don't make you fly across the country to hear the apology. They come to you. They make the effort. She's making you come to her. That tells you something. She just had a baby. And you just got humiliated in a hospital. You're both dealing with hard things. But only one of you is expected to do all the emotional labor. I know she's right. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally are different things. That night, I barely sleep. I keep thinking about tomorrow. About what I'll say, about what Ivy might say, about Lucian and where he stands in all this, about Henry, this baby I've never met, who's at the center of everything. Saturday morning, I get up early, shower, do my hair and makeup carefully, choose my outfit deliberately, dark jeans, a cashmere sweater, simple jewelry. I want to look put together, but not like I'm trying too hard. Philippa approves. You look like someone who knows her worth, she says. At 1:30, I get in my rental car. Philippa hugs me hard. Text me every 30 minutes or I'm calling the police. That's dramatic. I don't care. Text me? The drive to Lucian and Ivy's apartment takes 20 minutes. I've never been there before. Never been invited. I pull up to a modern building in a trendy neighborhood, find visitor parking, and sit in the car for 5 minutes, gathering courage. My phone buzzes. Philippa, you've got this. Remember who you are. I look at myself in the rearview mirror. I'm Margot Vandermeer. I built a multi-million-dollar business. I survived losing the love of my life. I've negotiated deals with some of the toughest people in Boston. I can handle a conversation with my daughter-in-law. I get out of the car, walk to the building, press the buzzer for apartment 3C. Lucian's voice comes through the intercom. Mom? It's me. The door buzzes. I go inside, take the elevator to the 3rd floor, walk down the corridor to their door. It opens before I can knock, and there's my son, holding my grandson for the first time I've seen him in person. Henry is tiny, impossibly tiny, wearing a little gray onesie, his eyes closed, his face peaceful in sleep. He's perfect. Hi, Mom, Lucian says quietly. Come in. I step inside their apartment, and the first thing I notice is how small it is. Not in a charming way, in a this is all we can afford way. The living room and kitchen are one open space, maybe 400 square feet total. There's a pack and play in the corner overflowing with baby clothes, dishes in the sink, the exhausted chaos of new parents everywhere I look. Ivy is on the couch. She looks terrible. Her hair is unwashed, pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup. Wearing sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt with what looks like spit up on the shoulder. Dark circles under her eyes that make her look 10 years older than 29. She doesn't stand when I enter, just looks at me with an expression I can't quite read. Hi, Margot, she says. Her voice is hoarse. Thanks for coming. Lucian gestures to a chair across from the couch. Do you want to sit? Can I get you water or coffee or anything? Water would be nice. I sit, keep my purse in my lap. A barrier between us. Lucian hands Henry to Ivy and goes to the kitchen. I watch Ivy hold my grandson. She does it easily, naturally, like she's done it 1,000 times already, which of course she has. She's his mother. I'm just the grandmother who's never held him. He's beautiful, I say, because I have to say something. Thank you. Ivy adjusts his onesie. He looks like Lucian did as a baby. I've seen the photos. That stings. She's seen photos of my son as a baby. Photos I took. She's had access to Lucian's entire history while systematically cutting me out of his present. Lucian returns with water for all of us, sits next to Ivy on the couch. They look united, a team, and I'm across from them like I'm being interviewed or judged. So, I say, taking control before they can. You wanted to talk. I'm here. Talk. Ivy and Lucian exchange a look, some silent communication that married people develop. Then Ivy takes a breath. I owe you an apology. For the hospital. For how you were treated. That was wrong. Yes, it was. I was in labor for 36 hours. I was in pain and scared, and I wasn't thinking clearly. I took it out on you, and that wasn't fair. I wait. There has to be more. This can't be all of it. But, Ivy continues, and there it is. I think we need to be honest about our relationship, or lack of one. I've never felt comfortable with you, Margot. From the beginning. Why? She shifts Henry in her arms. Because you're everything I'm not. Wealthy, successful, sophisticated, confident. Every time Lucian talks about you, it's about something you bought or paid for or fixed for him, and I couldn't compete with that. I knew I'd never be able to give him what you can give him. I never asked you to compete. You didn't have to. Your presence is competition. Every time you write a check, every gift you send, every time you solve a problem for us, it's a reminder that I can't do those things, that I'm not enough. Lucian puts his hand on Ivy's leg, supporting her. Of course he is. So you decided to cut me out entirely. I keep my voice level. That was your solution? Make me the enemy instead of dealing with your own insecurities? I didn't make you the enemy. I just wanted space. I wanted to build a life with Lucian that was ours, not funded by you. I wanted our baby to be about us, not about your money. And yet here we are, talking because you can't pay the hospital bill. So which is it, Ivy? Do you want my money or do you want your space? Because you can't have both. Her face flushes. That's not fair. None of this is fair. You rejected me from the most important moment in my son's life. You've spent 3 years making me feel unwelcome and unwanted. And now you want me to bail you out of debt. So tell me what's fair about any of this. Lucian leans forward. Mom, We're trying to apologize. We're trying to make this right. Are you? Because it sounds like Ivy is explaining why her behavior is justified, not apologizing for it. There's a difference. Ivy's eyes fill with tears. I grew up poor, Margot. Really poor. My parents divorced when I was 12, and my mom worked 3 jobs to keep us in a trailer that leaked when it rained. I watched her struggle every single day, and she struggled because she depended on my father financially, and when he left, she had nothing. No education, no career, no safety net. I promised myself I would never be that vulnerable, never depend on anyone, especially not someone else's money. So you resented me for being financially stable. I resented you for making Lucian dependent, for teaching him that he doesn't have to struggle or work hard or face consequences, because Mommy will always fix it. You didn't do him any favors, Margot. You made him weak. The word hangs in the air. Weak. The same word I thought in that hospital corridor, but would never say out loud. Lucian stands up abruptly. Okay, that's enough. Ivy, we talked about this. We were going to be respectful. I am being respectful. I'm being honest. She asked why I felt the way I felt. I'm telling her. I set my water glass down carefully. You think I made my son weak. I think you made him dependent. I think you never let him fail. And yes, that's a kind of weakness. He's 32 years old and still can't make a major decision without wondering what you'll think or how you'll react. Do you know he wanted to name the baby something different? He wanted to name him James after his favorite author, but he named him Henry Richard because he was scared you'd be disappointed if we didn't use his father's name. That's not healthy. I look at Lucian. Is that true? He won't meet my eyes. It doesn't matter. Henry is a good name. It matters if you gave up something you wanted because you were afraid of my reaction. Lucian, I would have been fine with any name. You know that. Would you have? Really? Or would you have been hurt and disappointed, and I would have spent the rest of my life knowing I let you down? Oh no. This is worse than I thought. He doesn't just depend on my money, he depends on my approval, on never disappointing me, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. I never meant to make you feel that way, I say quietly. I was just trying to be supportive, to help. I know. But Ivy's right. You never let me struggle. And now I don't know how. I don't know how to handle money or stress or problems without calling you. And that's not your fault entirely. It's mine too. But we need to change it. Ivy is watching me carefully. When I said I didn't want you at the hospital, it wasn't about you personally. It was about starting fresh, starting our family without that pattern, without immediately falling back on your help. So humiliating me was necessary? No, the way it happened was wrong. Lucian should have talked to you before you flew to Denver, should have explained, but the boundary itself was necessary. For us. I sit back in the chair. Everything I thought I understood about the last 6 years is shifting. I thought I was being a good mother, generous, supportive, but I was actually making my son dependent and his wife resentful. I was so busy trying not to lose him after Richard died that I held on too tight. So what now? I ask. What do you want from me? Lucian and Ivy look at each other again. Then Lucian says, we want you in Henry's life, in our lives, but differently, with boundaries, without the financial stuff being part of every interaction. And the hospital bill? Silence, long and uncomfortable. Finally, Ivy speaks. We can't pay it, not all of it. We can make payments, but it'll take years and destroy our credit. So yes, we're asking for your help. But we're asking, not assuming, not expecting, asking. And if I say no, then we figure it out ourselves. And we still want you to be Henry's grandmother. Those two things are separate. That's what we're trying to tell you. I look at my grandson, sleeping peacefully in his mother's arms. Look at my son, exhausted and scared, and trying to be braver than he knows how to be. Look at this tiny apartment that they can barely afford. And I realize something. This moment, right here, is where I decide what kind of relationship we have going forward. I can hold on to my hurt and my anger and my pride, or I can let it go and try something different. But I'm not deciding right now. Not in this apartment with them watching me, hopefully. I need time to think about all of this, I say, standing. About what I want. About what boundaries look like for me, too. Lucian stands. Okay, that's fair. Can I hold him? Before I go? Ivy hesitates for just a second. Then she stands and carefully transfers Henry into my arms. He's warm, solid, real. He makes a small sound and his eyes flutter but don't open. I look down at this tiny person who carries my husband's name and my son's face, and I feel my heart crack open in a completely different way than it did in that hospital corridor. "Hi, Henry," I whisper. "I'm your grandmother, whether anyone likes it or not." I hand him back to Ivy after a minute, walk to the door, turn back. "I'll call you in a few days. We'll talk more then." And I leave before anyone can respond. Before I can change my mind. Before I can fall back into old patterns. Philippa is waiting in the hotel lobby when I get back, takes one look at my face, and pulls me into the bar. "Tell me everything." So I do. And when I'm done, she says exactly what I need to hear. "Now you get to decide who you want to be. Not who you've always been, who you want to be going forward." That night, I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking about weakness and dependence and love and boundaries and all the ways we hurt the people we're trying to help. And I realize I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I don't call Lucien in a few days like I promised. I let a week pass, then another. I need the space to think, to process everything Ivy said in that apartment. The accusation that I made my son weak, that I never let him struggle, that my generosity was actually a form of control. I hate that she might be right. Philippa and I have lunch every few days during those 2 weeks. She listens as I work through it out loud. "Richard and I always said we wanted to give Lucien a better life than we had. We both worked so hard to build the business, to create wealth. What's the point of having money if you can't help your own child? There's helping and there's enabling," Philippa says carefully. "You know that. You deal with it in estate planning all the time. Clients who want to leave money to their kids but worry it'll ruin them. That's different. Is it? You always tell those clients that the best gift is teaching their children to be self-sufficient, to value work and struggle and earning things themselves. Why doesn't that apply to Lucien?" I don't have a good answer. At work, I bury myself in a new case. A woman in her 60s whose husband of 40 years just died, leaving a financial mess she didn't know existed. Secret debts, bad investments, accounts she never knew about. She sits in my office crying, saying she thought they were a team, but he'd been hiding everything for years. I help her untangle it, sort through the mess, create a plan, and the whole time I'm thinking about secrets and dependence and how money becomes the language we use when we can't figure out how to communicate love. On day 12 after Denver, my phone rings. It's not Lucien. It's a number with a Denver area code I don't recognize. "Hello? Margot, it's Ivy." Her voice is tight, stressed. "I need you to know something before Lucien calls you." My stomach drops. "Is Henry okay?" "Henry's fine, but we got a letter from the hospital. They're sending the bill to collections. It's affecting our credit. Lucien's company does background checks for promotions, and they include credit reports. He was up for senior architect, but he might not get it now because of this debt." I close my office door. "Sit down." "Okay." He's falling apart. He won't eat, barely sleeps, just holds Henry and cries. He's convinced he's ruined everything. Our finances, his career, Henry's future. And I'm scared, Margot. Not about the money, about him. What do you want me to do? I don't know. I thought we could handle this on our own. I thought asking you for help made us weak. But watching my husband have panic attacks at 3 a.m. because he can't provide for his family? That's worse. That's so much worse. I hear something in her voice I've never heard before. Genuine fear. Not manipulation or resentment. Just a young mother who's scared for her husband. "I'm going to ask you something and I need you to be honest," I say. "Do you want me in Henry's life, in your lives? Or do you just want my money to solve this problem?" Silence. Long enough that I think she might have hung up. Then quietly, "Both." Is that a terrible answer? I want both. I want you to be Henry's grandmother. I want Lucien to have his mother back. But I also want this nightmare to end, and I don't know how to make that happen without you. At least you're being honest. I haven't been honest about a lot of things. I've been so angry at you for things that weren't really about you. My mom warned me about that. Said I was projecting my father issues onto you. I told her she was wrong, but she wasn't. Your father left? When I was 12. Stopped paying child support after 6 months. We never saw him again, and my mom spent the rest of my childhood struggling because she'd trusted him, depended on him. I swore I'd never be that vulnerable. But then I met Lucian, and he was so kind and stable and safe, and you were there in the background, always fixing things, always making his life easier. And I was terrified of me, of becoming my mother, of depending on someone else's money, of building a life that could disappear if you decided to pull your support. So I pushed you away first, before you could leave. I close my eyes. Everything is starting to make sense. The coldness, the rejection, the need to establish independence. Ivy wasn't being cruel. She was being terrified. I'm not your father, Ivy, and I'm not going anywhere. How do I know that? Because I'm here. After everything, after being humiliated and rejected and shut out, I'm still here. That should tell you something. I hear her crying softly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for all of it. For the hospital, for the last 3 years, for making you feel unwanted. You didn't deserve any of that. No, I didn't. But I also need to own my part in this. I did make Lucian dependent. I did use money as a substitute for real communication. And I need to change that too. So what do we do now? That's the question. What do we do now? I think about my grandson growing up in this broken dynamic. I think about my son having panic attacks. I think about Ivy, barely 30 years old, trying to hold her family together while processing her own trauma. I think about Richard and what he would say if he were here. He'd say, family is complicated, that love isn't simple, that sometimes the right thing and the easy thing are completely different, and that I need to follow my gut. I'm going to pay the hospital bill, I say, but with conditions. Okay. First, you and Lucian start marriage counseling. Not because your marriage is failing, but because you need to learn how to communicate about money and family and all the complicated stuff before it gets worse. We can do that. Second, Lucian starts individual therapy. He needs to work through his relationship with me, with his father's death, with his own fears about being a parent. That's not optional. Okay. Third, we establish real boundaries. I visit Denver once a quarter. You and Lucian visit Boston once a quarter. We video chat weekly so I can see Henry grow up. But I stop being the person you call every time there's a problem. I'm a grandmother and a mother, not a bank. That's fair. Fourth, and this is non-negotiable, you treat me with respect. Both of you. If you have a problem with something I do or say, you tell me directly. No more silent resentment. No more shutting me out. We deal with things like adults. I can do that, I promise. And last, I want you to do something for me that has nothing to do with money. I want you to tell me 3 things about Henry that I don't know. Not his feeding schedule or sleep patterns. Real things. What his personality is like. What makes him smile. What you dream about for his future. Ivy laughs through her tears. He hates having his diaper changed. Screams like we're torturing him. But the second it's done, he's perfectly happy again. He has no middle ground. That's one. He makes this face when he's sleeping, like he's having very serious dreams about very important things. Lucian calls it his CEO face, says he's planning corporate takeovers in there. 2. And I dream that he grows up knowing he's loved, that he has a grandmother who flew across the country to meet him, that he has parents who are working hard to be better, that he grows up with enough, but not so much that he doesn't appreciate it. I want him to be strong and kind, like his grandfather was from what Lucian tells me. My throat tightens. Richard would have loved him so much. I wish I could have met him. Me too. We're both quiet for a moment. Then Ivy says, Lucian's going to call you, probably in the next hour. He doesn't know I called you first. Can you pretend you don't know everything? Why? Because he needs to ask you himself. He needs to be vulnerable with you. That's part of growing up, right? Learning to ask for help instead of expecting it? She's right. Okay, I'll act surprised. Thank you, Margot, for everything, for being better than I deserved. After we hang up, I sit in my office for a long time. Then I call my bank and arrange the wire transfer. $47,000. Enough to buy a nice car or take a luxury trip around the world. Instead, it's buying my grandson's parents some breathing room. Buying my son a chance at the promotion he deserves. Buying my family a fresh start. But this time, it's different. This time it comes with boundaries and expectations and honesty. This time it's not enabling, it's helping. There's a difference. Lucian calls 37 minutes later. I'm in my car driving home from work when his name appears on the screen. "Hi, sweetheart," I answer. "Mom?" His voice breaks immediately. "Mom, I messed up. I messed everything up so badly and I don't know how to fix it." I pull over. "This conversation needs my full attention. Tell me what's happening." And he does. All of it. The debt, the collections letter, the promotion he might lose, the panic attacks, the feeling that he's failing at everything. He cries while he talks. Really cries, in a way I haven't heard since his father's funeral. I'm supposed to be a man, a father. I'm supposed to provide and protect, and I can't even pay a hospital bill. What kind of father can't pay for his own son's birth? The kind who's learning, I say gently. The kind who's 32 years old and still figuring out how life works. That's normal, Lucian. That's being human. I need to ask you something, and I'm so ashamed I can barely say it. Ask me. Can you help us? With the hospital bill? I know I have no right to ask after everything. I know you probably hate me, but I'm desperate, and I don't know what else to do. I let the question sit for a moment. Let him feel the weight of asking, of being vulnerable, of admitting he needs help. I'll help you, I say, but things are going to be different from now on. Different how? I'm going to pay the bill, all of it. Consider it a gift for Henry's birth, but you and Ivy are going to counseling. Both marriage counseling and individual therapy for you. And we're establishing boundaries, real ones, about visits and communication and financial support. This can't keep being the pattern where you struggle and I swoop in and fix it. That's not healthy for anyone. I'll do anything, whatever you want. I don't want anything except to be your mother and Henry's grandmother. But I need you to learn to stand on your own feet, and I need to learn to let you. We both have work to do here. I'm sorry, Mom. For the hospital, for how Ivy treated you, for all of it. I should have defended you, should have stood up for you. Dad would have been so disappointed in me. Your father would have loved you no matter what, just like I do. But he also would have expected you to be a man of your word, to treat people with respect, to take care of your family. So let's work on that, together. Okay, thank you. God, thank you so much. The money will be wired tomorrow. It should clear by Wednesday. I don't know what to say. Say you're going to make me proud. Say you're going to be the father Henry deserves. Say you're going to treat your mother like she matters. I will. I promise. All of it. After we hang up, I sit in my parked car and let myself feel everything. Relief that the immediate crisis is solved. Sadness for all the pain we've caused each other. Hope that maybe, finally, we're starting to build something healthier. My phone buzzes with a text. It's from Ivy. A photo of Henry wearing a little onesie that says, "I love Grandma," with a message. "He can't wait to meet you properly. Come whenever you're ready." I stare at that photo for a long time. At my grandson's tiny face. At the olive branch Ivy is extending. At the possibility of starting over. Then I text back, "Next weekend, I'll book a hotel nearby. Let's do this right." Her response is immediate. "No hotel. Stay with us. Please. We have a pull-out couch, and it's not fancy, but it's yours if you want it." I think about that, about staying in their small apartment, about being in their space, in their life, in a real way, about the vulnerability that requires from all of us. "Okay," I type. "I'll stay with you." That night, Philippa comes over with champagne. "I heard you paid the bill. How did you hear that?" "Lucian called me, thanked me for being a good friend to you. Said I helped keep you from giving up on him completely." "You did. So how do you feel? Now that it's done?" I think about that question. How do I feel? Not triumphant, not vindicated, not even particularly happy. Just peaceful. Like I made the right choice for the right reasons, and now I can move forward. I feel like I'm learning to be a different kind of mother. The kind Richard would be proud of. He'd be proud of you regardless. But yes, I think he'd love this version too. We drink champagne and talk about boundaries and growth and how hard it is to change patterns that have existed for years. How family is the hardest relationship because the stakes are so high and the history is so deep and there's no walking away without losing part of yourself. "Do you think it'll work?" I ask. "The therapy, the boundaries, all of it?" "I think it has a chance, which is more than you had 2 weeks ago." She's right. 2 weeks ago, I was standing in a hospital corridor being rejected by my own son. Tonight, I'm planning a trip to meet my grandson and rebuild my family. That's progress. Real, messy, complicated progress. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Lucian. I love you, Mom. I'm going to do better. I promise. I text back. I love you too, and I know you will. And for the first time in weeks, I sleep through the night without waking up with anxiety twisting my stomach. Because I finally understand something important. Love isn't about never letting people struggle. It's about being there when they do. It's about boundaries and respect and honesty. It's about choosing to stay even when it's hard. It's about believing people can change and grow and be better than they were. It's about being strong enough to let go and wise enough to hold on, both at the same time. And maybe, finally, I'm learning how to do that. I fly to Denver the following Friday with a single carry-on bag and significantly lower expectations than my last trip. No gifts this time, except a simple framed photo of Richard holding newborn Lucien at the hospital 32 years ago. I found it in a box in my closet while packing. The circle of life, I suppose. Lucien picks me up at the airport. He looks different. Thinner, more tired, but somehow more present, like he's actually inhabiting his life instead of sleepwalking through it. Hi, Mom. He hugs me tight, longer than usual. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everything. Let's not make this about the money, I say gently. Let's make it about family. The drive to their apartment, he tells me about the counseling. They've had 2 sessions already. It's hard, he admits. Really hard. The therapist asked us to talk about our families of origin and how that affects our marriage. Ivy cried for like 40 minutes straight. I didn't realize how much her dad leaving messed her up. Trauma has a long reach. Yeah. And the therapist asked me about losing Dad, about how I dealt with it. And I realized I didn't deal with it. I just let you take care of everything and pretended I was fine. You were 26. You were allowed to not be fine. But I'm 32 now. I need to learn how to handle my own life. The therapist said something that really stuck with me. She said dependency isn't love, it's fear. And I've been afraid of disappointing you my whole life, afraid of failing, so I just let you prevent me from ever having to try. I reach over and squeeze his hand. We both enabled that pattern, but we're changing it now. When we get to the apartment, Ivy meets us at the door with Henry in her arms. She looks different too. Her hair is washed, she's wearing actual clothes instead of sweatpants, and there's something softer in her face when she looks at me. Margot, welcome. She shifts Henry slightly. Do you want to hold him? I would love that. She places him in my arms carefully, showing me how to support his head. He's bigger than he was 2 weeks ago, more alert. His eyes are open, and he's looking at me with that unfocused baby gaze that somehow feels like he's seeing straight into my soul. Hi, Henry, I whisper. It's me again, your grandmother, the one who's going to spoil you with love but not money. Well, maybe a little money, but mostly love. Ivy laughs. The therapist said you're allowed to spoil him occasionally, just not constantly. I'll take that. I look up at her. Thank you for letting me be here, for giving me this chance. Thank you for taking it. A lot of people wouldn't have, after how we treated you. We spend the weekend doing normal family things. I sleep on their pull-out couch, which is exactly as uncomfortable as it sounds, but I don't complain. We cook meals together in their tiny kitchen. I teach Ivy how to make Richard's favorite pasta dish. Lucien gives me a tour of his architecture firm's latest project via photos on his laptop, and I hold Henry. A lot. I change his diaper despite his dramatic protests. I walk him around the apartment when he's fussy. I sing him the same lullabies I sang to Lucien 3 decades ago. I fall completely, irrevocably in love with this tiny person who has my husband's name and my son's eyes. On Saturday night, after Henry is asleep, the 3 of us sit in the living room with wine and have the conversation we should have had 3 years ago. I need to understand something, I say. Why didn't you ever tell me how you felt, Ivy? Why let it build up like this? She looks down at her wine glass. Because I didn't know how to articulate it. I just knew I felt uncomfortable and inadequate around you. And it was easier to blame you than to deal with my own issues. And I made it easy to blame me, I admit. I was so busy trying to be helpful that I didn't notice I was actually being intrusive, taking over, not leaving space for you two to be adults. Lucian shifts forward. I think we all played a part. I should have been honest with both of you about what I needed. Instead, I just tried to keep everyone happy and ended up making everyone miserable. So how do we do better? Ivy asks. What does healthy actually look like? We talk for 2 hours. We establish real guidelines. I'll visit 4 times a year, but I'll always ask first, not just show up. They'll visit Boston twice a year. We'll video chat every Sunday so I can watch Henry grow up. If they need financial help, they have to ask explicitly, and I have the right to say no. If I offer help, they have the right to decline without it causing a rift. What about gifts for Henry? I ask. I'm going to want to spoil my grandson, at least a little. Lucian and Ivy look at each other. Reasonable gifts for birthdays and holidays, Ivy says. Not a new toy every week, not a car when he turns 16. We want him to learn the value of things. I can work with that, though I'm reserving the right to get him books whenever I want. Richard would insist on that. Books are fine, Lucian says, smiling. Dad would absolutely insist on that. We look at the framed photo I brought, now sitting on their bookshelf. Richard holding baby Lucian, his face full of wonder and joy and fierce protective love. I wish he was here, Lucian says quietly. He would have known how to navigate all this better than we did. I don't know about that, I say. Your father was brilliant at business and terrible at emotional conversations. Remember how he used to leave the room whenever things got too intense? I'd find him in his office, reorganizing his files. Lucian laughs. I forgot about that. He'd just disappear and come back an hour later like nothing happened. He was human, flawed, just like all of us. But he loved you completely. And he'd be so proud of the man you're becoming, not the man you were maybe, but the man you're choosing to be now. Ivy reaches over and takes Lucian's hand. We're going to mess this up sometimes. All of us. We're going to fall back into old patterns or say the wrong thing or hurt each other's feelings. Absolutely, I agree. But the difference is now we'll talk about it. We'll repair it. We won't let resentment build up until it explodes. Sunday morning, I'm feeding Henry a bottle while Lucian makes breakfast and Ivy showers. The apartment is quiet, except for the soft sounds of the baby eating and the clatter of pans in the kitchen. Sun is streaming through the windows. It's such an ordinary moment, such a simple thing, and it's everything I wanted 2 weeks ago when I was standing in that hospital corridor. This, just this, being included, being wanted, being grandmother. My phone buzzes. It's Philippa. How's it going? I snap a photo of Henry mid-bottle, his eyes heavy with sleepiness, and send it to her. It's perfect, complicated and messy, and absolutely perfect. You did good, Margot. We all did. We're all doing the work. When it's time to leave Sunday afternoon, saying goodbye is bittersweet. I kiss Henry's perfect soft head about 17 times, hug Ivy, and tell her I'm proud of her for being brave enough to be honest. Hold Lucian and whisper that his father would be so proud. Next time you visit Boston, I tell them, stay at my house. The guest room is yours whenever you want it. I'll stock the nursery with everything Henry needs. We will, Lucian promises. Maybe for Christmas? Introduce Henry to his first snow? I would love that. At the airport, I call Philippa from the gate. I paid $47,000 to learn how to be a better mother. That's probably the most expensive lesson I've ever received. Was it worth it? I think about Henry's face, about Lucian's honesty, about Ivy's courage to be vulnerable, about the family we're building now based on respect instead of obligation. Every single penny. On the flight home, I start drafting an email to my estate attorney. I need to restructure my will, create a trust for Henry that he can't access until he's 35. Enough to give him opportunities, but not enough to remove the need to work, to struggle, to earn his own life. Richard and I always said we wanted to give Lucian everything. But now I understand that everything includes the gift of learning to stand on his own. When I get home to my house in Beacon Hill, it feels different, less empty, less like a museum of my past, and more like a home base for my present. I put the photo Ivy sent me of the 3 of them on my nightstand. Henry in the middle, his parents on either side, all of them smiling at the camera. My family, complicated and imperfect and learning and growing. I change into comfortable clothes and pour myself a glass of wine. Sit in Richard's old chair in the study, the leather worn smooth from years of him sitting here working on cases. "We did okay," I say out loud to him, to the empty room, to the memory of us. "Our son struggled, but he's figuring it out. And our grandson is perfect. You would have loved him so much." I imagine Richard's response. He'd probably make a joke about how I'm talking to an empty room. Then he'd get serious and tell me he's proud of me for setting boundaries, for being strong enough to let Lucian face consequences, for choosing dignity over enabling. My phone buzzes with a video call. It's Lucian, holding Henry up to the camera. "Say hi to Grandma," he says in that silly voice parents use with babies. Henry makes a gurgling sound that might be gas, but I choose to believe is a greeting. "Hi, my beautiful boy," I say, and I'm smiling so hard my face hurts. "I already miss you." "We miss you too," Lucian says. "Love you, Mom." "Love you too, sweetheart. Both of you, all three of you." After we hang up, I sit there in the quiet house, and I feel something I haven't felt in 6 years, since before Richard died, since before I became the widow who threw herself into work and parenting and fixing everyone's problems. Peace, not the absence of problems. We still have work to do, boundaries to maintain, patterns to break, but peace in knowing that I'm on the right path, that my family is worth fighting for, that love isn't about money or fixing or protecting people from struggle. It's about showing up, being honest, doing the hard work, and trusting that people you love can grow and change and be better. I survived losing my husband. I survived the humiliation of being rejected by my son. And now I'm learning to survive the even harder thing, letting go of control while still staying connected. It's terrifying and liberating and exactly what I need to do. For myself, for Lucian, for Ivy, and most importantly, for Henry. Because I want my grandson to grow up knowing that his grandmother is someone who chose dignity over bitterness, who set boundaries and kept them, who loved him fiercely but wisely, who understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people struggle so they can learn to be strong. I raise my wine glass to Richard's empty chair. To new beginnings, I say, to complicated families, to grandmothers who are still learning, to love that looks different than we expected, but is real anyway. And in the quiet of my home, surrounded by memories of the past and hope for the future, I finally understand what this whole painful journey was about. It wasn't about money or hospitals or humiliation or revenge. It was about learning that the strongest love isn't the kind that fixes everything. It's the kind that stays anyway.